I didn't come to Chicago looking for trouble. I just needed a roof, a summer job, and a place where no one knew my name. But what I found was a man I was never supposed to want. He was twice my age. My father's old friend. The man who promised to look after me. And every time he said my name, it sounded like something he wasn't allowed to feel. It started with glances, then touches, then nights I can't forget. I thought I could handle it. The secrecy, the danger, the thrill. But I didn't know what it would cost me. I didn't know what would happen when the man I trusted most walked in and saw everything. And I definitely didn't expect what came after. I wasn't looking for trouble. I wasn't chasing romance or secrets or any of that movie stuff. All I wanted was a place to stay and a summer job in a city that didn't know my name. My name's Nick. I was 20, just finished my sophomore year, and I came to Chicago to grow up. Or at least fake it well enough. All I had was a backpack, a few $100, and a phone number. A man's name. Michael Darren. 42. Old friend of my father's. A favor turned into a roof over my head. I was supposed to help around the house while staying in the guest room. That's all. Nothing more. The house was out of a Netflix drama. Sleek, cold, expensive. Huge windows, a fireplace, a pool in the backyard. But the part one couldn't get over was him. Michael. Tall. Silver at the temples. Sharp jawline. Hands that looked like they could crush and cradle all in one motion. He had this gaze. Ice blue. Measured. And yet, something behind it smoldered. I could tell he was trying to keep a distance. But his eyes betrayed him. To him, I was just Nick, son of an old friend. But there was a crack in that label, even from day one. At first, I kept busy, cleaning, carrying deliveries, organizing files in his office. The house was always silent, sterile, except when he came home late and the sound of keys dropped onto the kitchen counter broke the silence like a thunderclap. And then the nights. The first time, I thought I imagined it. I was lying in bed, scrolling through my phone, earbuds in, music playing loud. But even through that, I felt something, like someone was there. When I looked up, there he was, standing in the hallway, not saying a word, just standing. Then he walked away. It happened again, and again, every night, a little closer, a little longer. I never told him I knew. Maybe part of me wanted it. Maybe part of me liked being seen. And then, one night, I was lying shirtless, headphones in, half asleep. The door creaked. I looked up. Michael was inside the room. Hair damp, bare chest under a towel wrapped low around his waist. Drops of water still sliding down his neck. His eyes locked onto mine and didn't flinch. He didn't say hello or excuse me. He just said, "You're not what I expected." That was it. But it shook me. From then on, something shifted. He started touching, lightly, a hand on my shoulder, his fingers brushing my wrist, lingering behind me in the kitchen a second too long, saying things like, "You've changed since I saw you as a kid. You've grown." And I didn't pull away. For the first time, I wanted to be looked at like that, by someone older, someone who wasn't supposed to. We danced around it for days. Careful silences, accidental touches. But the tension was building like storm clouds. Until one evening, we sat outside on the terrace, a bottle of wine between us, the sky fading from gold to midnight blue. He leaned closer, the air around us tight with unspoken words. Then, quietly, he asked, "If I do something, will you tell your father?" My heart stopped. I didn't answer. I reached out and touched his hand, and he didn't pull away. That night, something started we couldn't undo. Something quiet, burning, real. But I didn't know how dangerous it would become. Not yet. The first time it happened, I thought I'd float out of my skin. We didn't say much after the terrace. Just walked back inside. Quiet, like nothing had changed, but everything had. My fingers still buzzed from the way his skin felt. Yeah, Russ. Like something alive underneath. That night, I stayed awake in bed, shirtless, the sheets kicked off from the heat, my heart racing like it knew he'd come. And he did. I didn't hear the door this time. Didn't need to. I felt him enter. His presence pressed into the air like a second gravity. I opened my eyes. He was standing at the foot of the bed, bare-chested again, just sweatpants this time, clinging low to his hips. "Can't sleep?" he asked, voice low. I shook my head. He sat down, on the edge, his thigh almost touching mine. We didn't move. "You're not afraid of me?" he asked, finally. I swallowed. "No." A beat passed. "Good," he said. Then his fingers touched my ribs, slow, almost curious, tracing a line up to my chest. My breath hitched. I didn't stop him. I couldn't. His touch was fire and ice, terrifying and magnetic. And then he leaned in. His lips brushed mine, barely. A ghost of a kiss. "Tell me to stop," he whispered. But I didn't. So he kissed me, seeing, deep, and claiming. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't sweet. It was a man who had denied himself too long, tasting something forbidden, and not sure if he'd ever get to again. He pulled back only when my hand slid up his back, pulling him closer. That night, we didn't sleep. We didn't talk much, either. Just hands, skin, breath, heat. And in the morning, when the light spilled across the sheets, I looked over, and he was already gone. He avoided me all day. Not a word over breakfast. Not a glance while I loaded his car with boxes for work. Like nothing had happened. Like he hadn't kissed me until I trembled or whispered my name into my neck. I felt dropped. Faint. That night, I waited again. Hours passed. He didn't come. I almost thought I'd imagined it all. That maybe I had dreamt the whole thing. Until I found the wine glass on the terrace. Still half full. Lip print. His. The second night, he came again. No words. Just the weight of him in my bed. The smell of his skin. The roughness of his hands. But still no answers. Was this just physical for him? Was I just some kid, a summer experiment? But then, the third night, I pulled away. Just a little. I wanted him to see me. "What are we doing?" I asked, barely above a whisper. He paused, breathing hard, his hand on my hip. "This is wrong," he said, eyes shut. "But I can't stop. I should have been scared. Or ashamed. But I wasn't. I don't want you to stop," I said. His eyes opened. That was the first time I saw it. The fear behind the what. The crack in his armor. He touched my face like he was afraid it would break. "You don't know what this could cost," he whispered. And I didn't. Not yet. But I was already too far in. That night, we moved slower. Like we both understood that whatever this was, it had already changed us. It wasn't just lust anymore. It was a fire too big to contain. He held me after, his fingers drawing soft shapes on my back. And in the dark, I asked, "Would you do this if I wasn't your friend's son?" He didn't answer for a long time. Then he said, "If you weren't, I would have done it the first night you walked through that door." My stomach turned, and I realized it wasn't just me who was getting pulled under. He was drowning, too. Michael started setting rules. No eye contact too long during the day. No texting. No speaking about it outside my room. "It's not real out there," he said. "Only here." But I hated that. Because it was real. The way he kissed me, slow and desperate. The way his breath caught when I touched his jaw. The way his whole body relaxed when I curled into him at night. He was pretending it wasn't happening, even as it consumed us. One evening, I found him in the living room, the lights off except for the fire in the hearth. He was sitting on the floor, back against the couch, a half-empty glass of whiskey beside him. I stood in the doorway. He didn't look up. "You okay?" I asked. He exhaled, rubbing a hand through his hair. "Long day." I stepped inside. "You've been distant." He gave a hollow laugh. "I wonder why." I sat down beside him, careful not to touch. But my thigh brushed his, and he didn't move. "Is it guilt?" I asked. He didn't answer, so I kept going. "Is it because I'm young? Or because of my dad?" His voice was low. "Both." I looked at him. Really looked. The sharp edges. The lines near his eyes. The tension in his jaw. "You think I don't know what this is?" I asked. "You think I don't want this?" He turned to me, and there was heat in his stare, but something else, too. Sadness. "Lonnie. Fear. I don't want to hurt you," he said. "Then don't." And I leaned in, kissed him. This time I was the one who initiated it. Slowly, softly. His lips met mine like he'd been waiting for permission. The fire flickered beside us, shadows dancing over his face. He touched my chest, slid his hand under my shirt, skin on skin. I straddled his lap, and he held my waist like he couldn't believe I was real. "Nick," he murmured. And in that name, there was everything. Desire, confusion, panic. "I don't want to be your mistake," I whispered into his neck. "You're not," he said quickly. "God, you're not." That night, we didn't make it to my bed. The floor became our hiding place. The carpet, the flicker of flames, his breath against my ear, it all burned into memory. But the next morning, reality slapped me awake. I came downstairs late, my hair still damp, wearing one of his shirts. And there he was, Michael, dressed sharply, coffee in hand, acting like nothing had happened. He looked at me. No smile. Just a nod. "Morning." That's it, I said under my breath. He didn't answer, just kept scrolling his phone. After he left for work, I stood alone in the kitchen, my stomach twisting. I felt like some secret he couldn't wait to bury again. Later that night, I waited. In my room. Shirt off. Lights dimmed. He didn't come. The next night, the same. On the third night, I found him in his office. Door open. Light low, typing furiously. You're avoiding me, I said. He didn't look up. I'm busy. I stepped closer. So what? We just act like it didn't happen. Like nothing ever happened. Nick, he sighed. This can't go on forever. Why not? Because it's not real. This is a fantasy. A beautiful, dangerous fantasy. I felt heat rise in my throat. It's only dangerous because you make it that way. He stood up. You don't understand what's at stake. I'm not a child. He looked at me then, eyes tired but glassy. His voice dropped. You're his son. Silence. I nodded slowly. So that's all I'll ever be to you? He came closer. Inches from me now. His hand almost raised, like he wanted to touch my cheek, but dropped it at the last second. You're more than that, he whispered. That's the problem. And then, footsteps. Outside. Gravel crunching. Michael froze. He looked at me, pale. Did you invite someone over? He asked sharply. I walked to the window. And I froze, too. A car door slammed. My heart stopped. Standing in the driveway, suitcase in hand, was my father. My father hadn't told me he was coming. He never did. That was his thing, showing up like a storm, unannounced, as if the world should brace itself. He hated plants. Said they were for people who needed control. I stood at the window, frozen. Michael next to me, tense. His fingers curled into fists. Did you know? I asked. He shook his head once. His jaw clenched so tight it looked painful. He can't stay here, Michael said. He wasn't supposed to come. Well, I said, trying to swallow my panic, he's here. When I opened the door, my father smiled that wide, practiced smile of his, the kind that worked on clients, waiters, and estranged sons alike. Look at you, he said, pulling me into a hug. His cologne hit me like memory, stale, sharp, paint. I was in Milwaukee for a meeting, thought I'd drop by. What's the point of having an old friend with a mansion if you can't crash now and then, right? I forced a smile. Right. Michael stepped out behind me, a perfect performance. Calm, confident, post, funner, he said, extending his hand. Didn't expect you. You never do, my father replied, gripping it firmly. But you know me. Too well, probably. They exchanged a look, something polite but tight. Years of history and silence behind their eyes. Then Michael turned to me, his voice clipped. Nick, can you help your dad with his bag? I'll make up the guest room. Guest room. Not my room. Not his. The moment he left us alone, my dad looked at me, amused. He looks good, huh? I blinked. What? Michael. He aged well. Always had that whole brooding thing going for him. I didn't answer. My chest tightened. Don't say that. Don't see him like I do. Dinner was quiet. Too quiet. Michael was distant but polite. My dad was talkative, overly casual. I barely touched my plate. So, my father said eventually, looking at me, how's the whole learning to be a man thing going? I choked on my water. Michael looked down at his wine, expression unreadable. I'm fine, I said, wiping my mouth. Just working around the house. Looks like it, Dad said, glancing at my arms. Filled out a bit since spring. I felt Michael's eyes flick to me for half a second, then away. The tension was unbearable. My dad couldn't see it, not fully, but he felt it. I could tell. His eyes lingered too long on Michael, on me. The way he kept asking vague questions, as if searching for something he couldn't name. And then, after dessert, he said it. You two been spending a lot of time together, huh? Michael froze. I forced a laugh. There's not much to do around here. My dad leaned back, swirling his wine. Still must be nice. Two men under one roof. One learning. One teaching. His words stung like acid. Michael stood up abruptly, gathering plates. I'll take care of these. I followed him into the kitchen. The second the door swung shut behind me, I hissed, he knows. He suspects, Michael said under his breath, stacking dishes. He doesn't know. What if he finds out? Michael turned to me, fast. Then it's over. You understand. I flinched. Evil. He stepped closer, voice low. This isn't a game anymore, Nick. We played too long. We let it go too far. You mean I let it? I said, voice sharp. His eyes darkened. Don't do that. I pulled away. You wanted it just as much as I did. Yeah, he said bitterly. And that's the problem. That night, my dad went to bed early. Or at least pretended to. I stayed up in my room, heart pounding, ears tuned to every sound. Midnight passed. No footsteps. No Michael. But at 1:37 a.m., my door creaked. He stepped in, silent, shirtless, face pale in the moonlight. I shouldn't be here, he whispered. I sat up. But you are. He came to the bed, sat down. I can't think straight when he's here, he said. Everything feels dangerous. It already was, I whispered. He leaned down, pressed his forehead to mine. You have no idea what I'm risking. You think I care about risks anymore? He kissed me. Slower this time. Softer. Like he was saying goodbye. And when he pulled away, he said something that made my stomach twist. This can't happen again. After tonight, it ends. I didn't answer. Because deep down, I knew he was lying. And so was I. The next morning, I came downstairs and felt it before I saw it. Something was off. The kitchen was quiet. My dad was already there, drinking coffee, scrolling through something on his phone. Michael wasn't around. Sleep well? My dad asked. I shrugged. Sure. He didn't look up. Didn't hear you come in. My stomach turned. I sat across from him, watching the way his jaw clenched, the slight twitch in his eyebrow. He was trying too hard to look casual. You okay? I asked. He nodded once, slowly. Yeah, just tired. Silence settled over the room like fog. Then he looked up, right into my eyes. You ever get the feeling someone's lying to you, Nick? I froze. He stared at me, unreadable. Not about something big. Just something that's there. Right into the surface. You feel it. Smell it. You just can't prove it yet. I swallowed. No, not really. He smiled cold. You'll learn. He stood, emptied his cup, and walked out. I found Michael in the garage, arms deep in a storage cabinet. He didn't look at me when I stepped in. He's watching us, I said. I know. He suspects everything. I know. He repeated sharper. I stepped closer. So what now? We pretend forever. Michael turned to me, eyes tired, voice low. There's no pretending left, Nick. What does that mean? It means this ends, now? We put it back in the box. I laughed bitterly. What box? You think we can just erase this? Like it never happened. His voice cracked. We have to. Why? I snapped. Because he showed up? Because you're scared? Yes, he said. Because I'm scared. And so should you be. He turned his back to me, shoulders rigid. And for the first time, I saw it. The man who had power, control, dominance, now shrinking inside his own guilt. And it hurt more than I expected. Later that day, I was in my room when I heard voices downstairs. Quiet, low, not angry, but pointed. I crept halfway down the stairs, just enough to hear. He's different, my dad was saying. You see that too, don't you? Michael said nothing. My dad continued. He's distant. Weird. Like he's hiding something. He's just growing up, Michael replied. Figuring himself out. A pause. Then my dad said, Tell me something, Michael. You ever wonder if we're blind when it comes to our own sons? Silence. Then footsteps. My heart pounded as I ran back up the stairs, shut the door, sat on my bed. I couldn't breathe. That night, I didn't sleep. I waited, hoping, dreading. 1 a.m. Nothing. 1:30. Still nothing. But at 2:04, I heard it. Footsteps. Not toward me. Away. Toward the backyard. I looked out the window. Michael was outside, pacing, barefoot on the patio. Smoking. Something he only did when he was breaking apart. I crept downstairs, out the sliding door, and stepped into the night. You shouldn't be here, he said, not turning around. Neither should you. He turned then, face shadowed by the moonlight. Eyes wild. What do you want from me, Nick? I want the truth. You had it. Then why are you running? He stepped closer. Because if I stay, I ruin everything. I stared at him, trying to breathe. I don't care anymore. I whispered. About Reese. About him. About any of it. He looked at me, full of something between love and terror, and then he kissed me. Right there. Out in the open. And that's when we heard it. The creak of the door. We pulled apart. My father was standing on the threshold, staring. He didn't speak. He didn't move. Just watched us. His eyes weren't shocked. They were knowing. And cold. He didn't say a word. My father stood there in the open doorway, arms crossed, chest rising and falling like a man trying not to explode. The night wrapped around us like a stage curtain, and all the lights were on him now. Michael stepped back from me. Slight. Settle. But enough. That little step shattered something in me. Dad looked at me. Not at Michael. Not anymore. So, he said calmly. That's what's been going on here. My mouth opened, but no sound came out. He nodded, slow. You know, Nick, I thought I was imagining it. The looks. The way you avoid me during the day. The way he disappears at night. His eyes flicked to Michael. Hell no. Connor, Michael started. No. Don't you ing say my name. His voice cracked like a whip. Hell no. Michael went quiet. I could see it in his face. He knew there was no way out now. I stepped forward. Dad, he said, pointing at me. You don't speak right now. That hurt. More than it should have. I'm your son, I said, trying to steady my voice. He turned to me, furious. Yeah, and he's not supposed to touch you. A silence fell. Michael finally spoke. I never heard him. That's not the point. Dad roared. You were supposed to protect him. Not what? Sleep with him. My breath caught. He looked at Michael like he was a stranger. I trusted you. You were supposed to look after him. You were supposed to be family. Michael looked pale. His lips parted, but nothing came out. I'd never seen him like that. Not even close. He's not a kid, Michael said finally. He knows what he wants. Don't justify it, my dad hissed. You're 42, and you're not listening, I snapped. You think I'm some victim? Like I didn't want it? Like I didn't make choices? He looked at me, something in his face breaking. You don't understand what this means, he said quieter now. What it looks like. What people will say. I don't care what they say, I whispered. He shook his head. You will. Someday you will. And with that, he turned and walked inside. Not another word. The next day was silence. Michael stayed in his room. Dad left early. Didn't say where. I wandered the house like a ghost. Everything felt different. Smaller. Chuppa. The kitchen. The terrace. Even the scent of his cologne in the hallway. All poisoned now. That night, I knocked on Michael's door. He opened it. Barely. His face was tired. Honey, you okay? I asked. He nodded. A lie. I stepped in. The room felt colder than usual. I don't regret it, I said. He looked away. You do, I added. He didn't deny it. Not because of me, he said quietly. Because I ruined something. I crossed a line I can't uncross. You didn't force me, I said. No, but I should have been the one to stop it. He sat on the edge of the bed, hands in his hair. I stood across from him, unsure if I should sit, or scream, or beg him to hold me. You said it would end, I whispered. But it didn't. He looked at me finally. I was selfish. No, I said. You were real. A beat passed. He reached out, fingers brushing mine. Just enough to remember. Not enough to claim. I want you to leave, he said. My chest went cold. What? Tomorrow. Go. I'll pay for a hotel. A flight. Anything. You're just throwing me away? I'm trying to protect what little of your life I haven't broken yet. Tears stung my eyes, but I blinked them back. You can't pretend this didn't matter. I'm not, he said. That's why I'm letting it go. And just like that, I turned. Walked out. Didn't look back. I packed in silence. My dad came back that evening. He didn't say a word when he saw my bag by the door. He just nodded. Where you going? Somewhere else. That's it. What do you want me to say? I asked. He hesitated. I want you to tell me it meant nothing. I looked him dead in the eye. It meant everything. He closed his eyes. A pause. Then maybe you're not the kid I thought you were. And maybe you're not the father I thought I had. But I didn't say it. I just opened the door. Neither hit my face. The house behind me didn't feel like home anymore. Neither did I. I didn't go far. I couldn't. I stayed at a cheap motel on the edge of the city, faded carpet, thin walls, the kind of place where no one asks questions. It smelled like bleach and loneliness. The first night, I sat on the bed and stared at the ceiling until morning. I didn't cry. I didn't sleep. I just replayed. Every look, every touch, every whispered word in the dark. His breath on my neck. The way his eyes softened when I made him laugh. The fear he tried to hide behind control. I checked my phone at least 100 times. Nothing. No text. No call. 3 days passed. Then 4. On the 5th, I caved. I walked back to the house just after sunset, hoping no one would be home. I needed something. Closure. A sign. A ghost of him. But when I reached the front gate, something felt wrong. Too quiet. Too still. I pressed the code. It beeped red. Denied. I tried again. Denied. The gate had been changed. I stood there, breath caught, heart pounding. He had shut me out. Fully. Intentionally. Not just emotionally. Physically. Tangibly. I stepped back. Looked at the house from a distance. Lights were off. Curtains closed. I don't know how long I stood there. Long enough for a neighbor to turn on their porch light. Long enough for me to realize he wasn't coming back to the door. I wandered for hours that night. Through streets I didn't know. Past strangers and neon signs and the low hum of late-night traffic. Every older man I passed, my eyes flicked up, hoping, stupidly. Every tall figure in the shadows, I saw him. I sat in a diner near the lake, staring at my coffee until it went cold. Two teens made out in a booth nearby. A trucker watched baseball on the tiny mounted TV. The world kept moving. Like nothing happened. Like I was the only one still living in the wreckage. 1 week later, I got a letter. Not a text. Not a voicemail. A real, handwritten letter. Pressed into the motel mailbox. No stamp. No envelope. It was from Michael. Nick, I won't ask for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I want to say I'm sorry, but even that feels selfish. What we had, it was real. Don't ever doubt that. You made me feel like a man again. Like someone who could be seen and touched and wanted. Not just feared and respected. But I'm not brave enough. I wish I were. I should have been. You're young. Beautiful. On the edge of something big. Don't let me be the reason you fall. Don't come back. Not because I don't want to see you, but because I do. Take care of yourself. And remember me better than I deserve. M. I read it 20 times. I held it to my chest. Eyes shut, breathing through the ache. And then I folded it. Carefully. Tucked it in my bag. Right next to the shirt of his I never returned. Weeks passed. I found a room to rent. Got a job bussing tables at a bar near the Loop. Started telling people I moved to Chicago for freedom. No one asked what that meant. Sometimes, in the mirror, I catch flashes of him in me. And how I hold a glass. And how I lean against the doorframe. In the silence between conversations. Sometimes, I still reach for my phone, thinking maybe. But I don't call. And he doesn't write again. One night, months later, I walked by a gallery window. Inside, a man stood alone, staring at a sculpture. Broad shoulders. Silver hair at the temples. I froze. But when he turned, it wasn't him. And I laughed. Quiet. Sad. Let it go. I'm learning to live with ghosts. The ones that touched you in ways no one sees. The ones that never really leave. Some nights, I dream of him. Not the man who sent me away, but the one who whispered my name in the dark like a secret he couldn't bear to lose. And I let him stay there, in the dream, where no one knocks, no one watches, and nothing has to end.